Welcome to Unconventional. I'm your host, Bill Tessar. Unique stories from entrepreneurs that have failed, picked themselves up, been knocked down, picked themselves up again, traveled roads that few travel. It's about digging into the successes that people have found in real estate, financing, lending, and the like. Welcome to Unconventional. So today we have our producer, Gina Comeaux. Gina and I go back 7 years, and we have Matt Flores, and Matt Flores and I go back, I'm going to date myself here a little bit, 22 years, 23 years.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. So as the producer of the show, first of all, I cannot say how excited I am to give you the platform, to be a part of the platform where you are getting to talk through the stories of so many other people, the pieces of the stories that not everybody gets to hear. So starting with your own story, Bill, your own unconventional story, you are the epitome of unconventional. I think Matt and I can both agree.
If that's a compliment, would you let my wife know that? Because I'm not sure that
It is a compliment.
You'll pass that on?
It's absolutely a compliment.
Right. Put it on my MySpace, just kind of like linking in there. Thank you, Gina.
You come from literally the conventional mortgage lending world.
Mm-hmm.
You have an extremely unconventional path by which how you arrived to the successes of your career.
I do.
And you are currently in the private lending world, which is quite literally unconventional.
By
right?
definition.
By definition.
Yes.
So when it comes to your unconventional journey, you touched on your upbringing, but I want to tap into what specifically happened. What was that pivotal moment? What was that defining moment? Was it as a child? Was it as a teenager? Was it as a young adult? I want to know where that moment was for you.
Yeah. So, what was clear to me, you don't realize it when you're a kid that you don't have a lot of money, but there are signs that you don't have a lot just based on what other kids have, how often you get a new pair of shoes, whether you get new sports equipment or not. And so you don't know immediately because you have food on the table and you have a roof over your head and you're in a neighborhood, but you figure things out at a pretty darn early age. What I would tell you is early on, I sold Pop Rocks and Bubble Yum at school, and the kids were pretty easily influenced in that Pop Rocks and Bubble Yum was better than the cardboard box milk and Salisbury steak that we used to get. So that was kind of an easy sell, and I preyed on the weak there and was able to drive sales up significantly. And so I had a little bit of cash early on for 7-Eleven money. But I would say that my first real break with money actually came off the heels of being hit by a drunk driver. So I was coming home from a dance in 10th grade, and there were 4 of us in the front seat of a pickup truck. There was a male driver, a female, which was with the driver sitting next to him, and then I was sitting next to them, and then my date was actually sitting on my lap. Obviously no seatbelts. That was not a thing back then. But we were coming off of the off-ramp of First Street, which Matt and Gina both know where First Street is. And we were coming off doing the speed limit coming from a dance. And a drunk driver hit us at 85 miles an hour. And I went through the back windshield of the truck and ended up landing on the freeway, on the off-ramp, off-ramp. And I was, my head was split open. I was bleeding pretty badly. And somebody in a El Camino, you remember those, right?
Oh, yeah.
Open back, picked me up and put me in the back of the El Camino and took me to Simi Adventist Hospital.
Wow.
And so, the end part of that story was the lady who hit me was heavily intoxicated. We ended up suing that lady, and I, got quite a bit of money at a very early age. And so, they settled, the insurance company and that gal settled pretty darn quick So it wasn't this multi-year drawn out thing. And I think I was in my early part of being 17 when I got my money, and I opened the first tanning business in Simi Valley called BT's Tanning, believe it or not. And that thing was busy morning, noon, and night, and literally bought a $995 real estate and credit package thing to learn, and bought my first real estate when I was 18 years old. And so I think like what got me into this, Gina, was I sat across the desk of this loan officer that was providing me the financing for the house that I was buying as an 18-year-old. Now just think about that. Like, how many 18-year-olds do we know today that would even think about buying a piece of real estate? But then, like, it was clear to me after I went through the Dave Delgado foreclosure seminar that I was going to be involved in real estate and have some money. So I did it. And I sat across that table with this loan officer, and I went line item by line item. What's this? What's this? It's credit report. What does credit report do? What does processing do? What does underwriting do? And at the very bottom was loan origination. Today it's at the top, but then it was at the bottom. Loan origination, that was the biggest fee. And I'm like, well, what is that? And then I remember the guy, like it happened yesterday, kind of backpedal and go, whoa, because we got to get your credit. We got to get, no, there's credit, there's processing, and we got to tie it all together. No, that's underwriting. And so I said, what is this fee? He goes, well, that's what I make. I go, so hold on a second. Think about this, 18 years old. Hold on a second. Credit's doing credit, processors are doing processing work, underwriters do theirs, escrow and title do theirs. You're collecting my paperwork. I qualify. You're giving it to all them to do the work, and you get that fee? And he goes, yeah. And I said, well, how do I do what you're doing? Because to me, I think the house I bought was like $100 and some odd thousand, 103, 105, something like that. And his was like $1,000. And $1,000 back then was so much money. Mm. I think my dad made like 15 or 20 for the whole year. So 1,000, to me, it was like, how do I do as many of those a month as I could possibly do? Yeah. Which ultimately I did. Like, I became a licensed originator when I was 18 and literally never looked back. Wow. So, it is kind of crazy when you think about it. Like, what could have been the end of my life was really, it was really the beginning of it. Mm-hmm. Really, if you think about it.
Wow.
Teenage trauma and real estate are two things that I would never piece together as being your unconventional story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? But that's incredible.
What I think about is, as a 17, 18-year-old, and you get a lump of cash like that, what did you say, $20,000?
No, I got a lot more than that.
Okay, so you got some cash.
Yeah.
Most 17 and 18-year-olds are going to spend it on something stupid, and
I did a little bit of that too.
Well, I'm sure you did.
I had a really nice 4x4, had a boat, had some cool stuff.
But was there somebody that got you into it? Like, how did you know that I needed to spend money on my investment and real estate? Like, what got you into that?
So I opened up BT's Tanning,
okay,
which was really good. And I was making money with my money. Like, back then, we charged like $5 a half hour, had 3 beds, and I was booked morning, noon, and night.
That's wild.
Morning unit, we converted my mom and dad's garage into 3 beds, and we ran it out of there. I mean, we're bootlegging, right? And I paid my mom to actually keep the books and greet people to come in while I was, on doing my own thing.
And that was at 18.
That was at 17. So what happened, Matt, to answer your question, I went to college, and it was my freshman year, and I was up late at night studying, and Dave Delgado, which now has some of the biggest wineries in Napa, was a foreclosure, credit, and real estate acquisition specialist. And he had the entire system that you can buy for like $995, which was a fortune in the mid 80s. And I paid the $995, and I read that thing from beginning to end multiple times. And that was the thing that got me involved in real estate. And what the guy charged me is what got me involved in doing loans. Like, to keep it like 92 with you, 92, for any of you that don't know what 92 is it's a little 8% I keep off of keeping it 100% real so I don't offend anybody or hurt anyone's feelings. But to keep it 92 with you, the way I thought about it was if my dad was making like $15,000 a year, I had to have 15 conversations like the one that loan officer had with me a year to make what my dad made. And if I could have more than that, then I could not only help my family, but I could help me. And as it turned out, Matt, like I never left home without a stack of business cards. And every single place I went, I told that person, whether they wanted to hear it or not, what it was I did and how I could help them.
Wow.
Everywhere I went.
That's
And
great.
so, yeah, I literally fell in love with loan originations at that moment and never fell out of love with it.
So once you fell in love with it, you go through this course, you spend this money, you spend money on other things, you know, 4x4,
Fun
any
stuff.
other couple fun things.
I had a boat, had a
Oh, you had
couple
a boat?
motorcycles, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. 2 motorcycles, a boat.
But you know, the funny thing is I didn't do that off of my settlement. I did that off of the tanning bed money.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you keep it separate?
I did.
Really?
I did.
Okay. So,
You know me pretty good right now, Matt.
yeah,
So
I
you know
do.
I'm a
but
pocket guy.
I'm interested in the BT's tanning a little bit, but
Yeah,
we'll
we'll
segue
talk
a little
about
bit
that later.
So
A
once
lot
you
of dating during that time. Could you imagine
Oh, yeah.
being in high school owning a tanning business?
Oh,
Girls
3
like to be
beds.
tan.
I mean,
I
getting
mean,
tan.
The girls like to be tan more than the guys. They didn't really care about it. But the girls, it's like, there were no tanning beds. That was the first tanning business in Simi Valley. The
Yeah.
first one.
Did you have to pay the electric bill for the
Of
parents?
course. No, I paid for more than that for my parents.
Interesting. Maybe we can come back to that
We
one.
can.
But so once you figure out, you go line by line in the transaction, right? You figure out credit reporting fee and appraisal fees and all these different fees, and you understand. You're now kind of digging into that. Once you get down to that origination fee, and now that, like, what do you do with that? Once you get that, once you start to invest in real estate and you start to buy your first homes, how do you then start your business?
Yeah. So I started my freshman year of college. I worked for a company called King's Financial out of Simi Valley
Mm-hmm.
that was a part of Meritor Mortgage, which was more of a national play. And I started as an originator. So if you think about it, I ran track. I was there on a track scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
I ran BT Standing. I was a full-time originator, and I was a student. And so,
Wow.
like, managing your day, I learned at a very early age. But for me, I would just pound the phones and always walk with cards and try to do as many loans as I possibly could. By my sophomore year, Matt, I was making more than any professor in the college. By my sophomore year, I was doing 8 to 10 deals a month. I was
Wow.
making
Wow.
an inordinate amount of money for someone that didn't have a pot to piss in just a couple years before.
And now give us an age, like you're what, 19, 20,
18,
21?
19-ish. Yeah, so like if you like in college, now this was a little obnoxious, and looking back, I kind of wish I didn't do this, but like I was 20 years old. I had a convertible Ferrari. I had
What
a
color was it?
convertible red. I had a convertible 911 Porsche, all off of loan originations. I was able to help my mom and dad in ways that my father could have. My dad was an appliance repairman. He was getting $19 to fix somebody's stove. I was making $1,000 to provide financing for someone. So, like, the math just did. No matter how many stoves he fixed, he could never get up to the level of doing one loan for somebody.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, my mom and dad didn't even believe that was a real thing
Wow.
until I showed them checks over and over and over again.
Right. And
Like you
how
can imagine,
legitimate
right?
it was, I'm sure. Like did they
Somebody's
question it?
well, I mean, just like I guess maybe over dinner, it'd be like, so well, hold on a second. Somebody's paying $1,000 for you to do loans for them, yeah, and you could do more than that. You can do that more than one time a week or a month. I go, like, yeah, like I did financing for all their friends.
Wow.
Like my mom and dad were kind of like schlepping my cards around because it's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but yeah, so I mean, and I think it was that same passion. I mean, that literally changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
Changed my life. And so it was that exact same passion that I would share with anybody who was willing to listen or wanted to change theirs.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wasn't like a Harvard grad. I was smart. I knew numbers. I was pretty quick-witted, and had passion and enthusiasm for what I was doing, but like I wasn't 150 IQ and kind of a unicorn that was able to do this. Anybody could do what I was doing. And so when I started my first company, it was just about getting out there and getting as many people to see what was causing me to be able to buy fancy cars and boats and houses, because one house became 2 houses, became 4 houses. So and remember back then, that was when savings and loans were a thing. Brokers, there were no mortgage brokerages. Like I was part of one of the first brokerages at that time. It went from being 95% savings and loans, 5% brokerages to like 75% brokerages and 25% banks after the saving and loans debacle. So like it, and I say the same thing, Matt, you and I've been together 22 years. You can attest right now today. Think about how many young adults we have right now.
Oh yeah.
Ordinary young adults making extraordinary income.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
That's not because of me.
Well,
No, it's not because of me. It's not because of you. It's because of them.
Well, it's because of them, but I think you're showing them the way. You're
That's
showing them
it.
what it takes. You're showing that there is failure. You're showing them how to get going. You're showing them to take action.
Yeah.
You're showing them all those things.
Oh yeah. And literally, you know, I compare it a little bit to kind of like the holy roller things you see when someone finds religion and they just want to scream about the path in the afterlife or whatever their religious beliefs are. Like that is the same passion I have for lending. Like you are providing a service for the person on the other end of that transaction. You're refinancing them into a lower rate and lower payments. You're consolidating debt that is tax deductible and at a lower payment. You're helping them get into home sweet home. You're helping them build their real estate empire. And you are the founding father of that transaction in providing finance. Like forget the money for a second. How awesome does that make you feel to give or to be part of Gina and Matt's first home? Here's the keys. We provided the financing. Your and Trisha's first home.
Yeah.
Mine and Carla's first home. Like that, like how do you even quantify dollar-wise how important that is for your soul?
Right.
And so, like, you don't see a whole lot of people in our space, Matt, the ones that really embrace it, leave. The ones that really embrace it, not are there for the free ride when rates are 2% and they're just calling the same borrower multiple times. I'm talking about the ones that understand the difference they're making in somebody's household.
Yeah.
It's significant.
Yeah.
So talk to me, Bill, about you being at the top of your game. You got your tanning bed business.
Oh, yeah.
You purchased your first home. You grew your way through the conventional lending world. I want to know about that leap from going from the conventional lending space, changing your world upside down, and going into private money. Because that is a leap of faith from where I'm sitting.
Yeah.
You had a comfortable ride. You were extremely successful. You could have gone to another conventional lender if you wanted just to switch companies. Whatever drove you to completely change the space that you work in.
Yeah. So I started in between the end of 1985, really dating myself right now. The end of 85, I started. And I've already shared with you the passion I've had for lending. And so in that time from 85 to 17, I was really with effectively 2 companies. The company I started when I first came out the gates, and then Capital Line, where Matt and I met, was a 1990s, late 90s company, and that company bought Skyline when the financial crisis hit. We bought them because they had some challenges, and so I'd been really around the same group of people for over 20 years, and it'd been in the same space for fast math 21 years, right? So here's what did it for me. Here's what did it. We had bought a company that was owned by Wedgwood. Wedgwood is the largest independently owned fix and flip company in the nation out of Manhattan Beach. And we bought a conventional company that they had, not because it was spectacular company, but because we wanted to get closer to Wedgwood. And so we did that. And while we did that, they started a company called Civic with like 4 or 5 people. And it was, they wanted to do private lending because conventional lending at that time, this is post Dodd-Frank. So the government was your partner. Margins were paper thin. It was a massively competitive industry nationwide and tremendously capital intensive space. And it was really more of like a commodity. We had at Skyline at the time I left, we had over 600 employees. And we were doing like $4 billion a year in conventional loans. And it was really more of a commodity. There was nothing truly special or that differentiated one lender from the other. And so when we bought that company and they started Civic, I got to kind of watch from afar because I sat as an advisory person for that group, not Civic, but Wedgwood. And so I got to watch from afar. And once they got to a scale, I think it was right around 20 million a month. They had like, I don't know, 45, 50 people there. I was approached by one of the partners at Wedgwood to help them find a CEO because they wanted to really take this to another level. And so I teed up 3 or 4 people. None of them worked out. And they started to pursue me. And, to be honest, I mean, most of the people of the 600 plus people that were at Skyline had been with me for over 10 years. And I was in the same community for 20. And we were finding great success over there. And so I had no real motivation to walk over and join a company that was the size of one of our branches, really. And I did a deep dive on all of the economics of the business. And what I realized after doing the deep dive was that they had real margins in this space. It was extremely undisciplined in that all of the things you had to do and that we did do on the conventional space were non-existent on the BPL space, business purpose lending space, right? The non-owner occupied investor loans. And I said to myself after about, 4 months of diligence, like, if I could bring just a fraction of this over there, we might be able to do something pretty special. And so I ended up accepting the role. Remember, I was president of Skyline. I was like the 3rd largest shareholder. And I accepted that and then took about 2 or 3 months in meeting with all of our employees and branches to make sure that that transition was done professionally and that they knew I wasn't going to a competitor. As a matter of fact, Skyline could become a customer of ours. I left my stock behind and I joined Civic in February of 2017. And, if you think about it too, Gina, like I had to lift up my family, though my kids were older. My wife and I had been part of the same community for almost 50 years and lived in the same house for 22 years. I was with the same company for 20 years. So like you talk about disruption in a family, but like we did it together and we came here to the South Bay and, it was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life, for sure.
I love that, just seizing the opportunity. I mean, I think what you just shared, being comfortable in a community for that long, being comfortable in a job for that long, and putting all that on the table to make such a big change, I think that really speaks to people who may feel stuck. They may feel like they've plateaued. They may feel like they've reached their limit.
Yeah.
And I think that move in and of itself is just an example of just going all in.
Mm-hmm.
You like to say chips all in, right?
Yeah, all the time.
Chips all in on that.
Yeah. One of the observations I have the way that you're telling this story, and I know I've been involved in this whole story, but the way that I'm hearing it now is you don't like to change. You don't change.
No.
You had 1 or 2, 3 max positions before, for the last 35 years.
Yeah.
And so to hear that it wasn't special, what you were doing wasn't really special. You couldn't see that, but then you saw it and you saw something that you can offer that was special. You took the risk.
It was a very, very big risk if you think about it.
For sure.
Like I was 48 years old. I got kids in college and out of college.
Mm-hmm.
I was very, very well cemented in my role there, and things were going just fine. And I was comfortable in my surroundings and knew that industry very, very well.
Mhm.
But there was something about this space that I became infatuated with early on and then grew to fall in love with. And it's because I think the difference we make in the business purpose lending space is significant to those who borrow. And it does feel like the camaraderie between the lender, the people that source the property, and the end investor, and people that buy the loans is more in sync than it is on the conventional side. And listen, I as I sit here today, I still think there are a tremendous amount of rocks that have not been unturned in our space, which is what like gets me excited to wake up in the morning and go to battle for sure. And listen, Matt, like you recall,
Oh yeah.
you recall, like when I made the move, I just said, I just want you to come see where we landed.
Oh yeah. I mean, at first, I remember that first discussion that you and I had,
Yeah.
and knowing you're very steady, right, and didn't really change. I brought that up, but then there was one meeting we had on a Saturday
I
morning at
remember
like
that.
6:30 in the morning,
Yeah.
and just for everybody that doesn't know, we were very tight, but maybe not so tight at that time. Outside the circle a little bit.
Matt worked his way out of the circle because he tried to do something unconventional and left our group to go off on his own, which we kind of like lightly encouraged while we tried to hold him back. And so he was out of the circle of trust a little bit, but
So then I get a phone call. I don't know, it was a Wednesday, Thursday that week, and you're like, hey, we would usually talk 2 or 3 times a day, and then we didn't talk for, maybe once, twice every 3 weeks. So then it was, a little sporadic. But then I get a phone call Wednesday, Thursday. Hey, can you meet me Saturday morning at 6:30 in the office?
yeah.
And my first answer is, absolutely. But I'm thinking in the back of my head, what does this guy want me to do? Like, what are we going to go talk about? And we kind of talked about that. So I had
Talk through it, yeah.
an indication of what was going to happen. And I just knew that there was something special about it. And I knew that there was something that you saw in it. And, just kind of segueing, I mean, you've always been a friend, mentor in my life and so many other people's lives. We could go on and on about talking about that. But that was a real deal for me, and that was a pivotal point, and that was in 2016, late 16.
Yeah, it was late 16.
Late 16, and you made your move in February, like you said, of 17. Then I made my move in March or so. But what I want to go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, sorry to interrupt. You said that you mentioned it earlier, like, hey, creature habit or whatever. Like, if you really think about it, it's not just the community I grew up with both of you grew up in the same community, by the way. And it's, not the fact that I've been happy with my gal for over 30 years. And I was part of the same company for over 20. I ate the same salad every single day.
Oh, yeah.
And I like to surround myself with people I know, like, and trust. And so part of you coming over, Matt, and the Comeaux and everybody else that's around us today is really all a function of me just being most comfortable with those folks because of those reasons. Me being most comfortable with the salad because I know how I feel after eating a salad or whatever the case is. And so, I am a massive creature of habit, but I'm also, I'm pretty sharp when it comes to surrounding myself with people that are smarter than me in areas that are important to making the business run. And, I know you love hearing this, but bringing you over certainly was one of those things for me. Like, I knew that early, even though you were outside the circle of trust, I was going to bring you back in, and it didn't take much to get you to pick up your family and move to the South Bay with us.
Yeah. And that was a great move for me.
It was.
It was great. And I just, I wanted to ask you a question, but before I say that, there's 3 words that come to mind. Number 1 for you, for everybody to know, is loyalty. You're extremely loyal, beyond loyal.
Thank you.
Trust is something that you measure high before anybody else does, and performance. Those 3 words for me. And I think the trust and performance kind of plays into your military background with Navy SEALs. That's how they measure their people.
Yeah.
It's not the strongest guys, it's not the guys that get the tattoos, that make it. It's the people that have the trust. And I think I see that every day. So that's a specialty. And like I said, you're kind of big mentor of mine. But who's your mentor? And who would you say it is? Is it your father? Is it somebody? And if so, what have they taught you that you would want to share with everybody today?
Yeah. So I think early on, definitely my dad. And some of you might think like, well, he was an appliance repairman. How can that be motivating? Well, like the one thing my dad had over most of the other people that I've encountered in my lifetime is that he loved doing what he did. We would be at Thanksgiving dinner with the family around the table, carving turkey, and the Suberts would call down the street, which were friends of ours, and their oven might not work. My dad would get off that table and go down the street and fix that oven or that stove or whatever it was that was impacting that family's lifestyle to then come back and share dinner with us. My dad worked 7 days a week to the time he passed and loved what he did. I remember the last, maybe the last 5 years before he passed, my dad was charging the same amount for a service call as he was 25 years before. And I said, Dad, like, I'm no brain surgeon, but there's this thing called inflation. I think you can get away with maybe a little bit. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to kind of box people out who can't afford to have I was like, well, I mean, everything else in the world has gone up, but he wouldn't do it. Like he just wouldn't do it because he just loved providing that service. And so for me, you say, well, I don't get it, Bill. You don't fix washing machines. I think the lesson I learned there is you better love what you're doing. If you don't love what you're doing, you're never going to be awesome at it. You're never going to be happy doing it. And that I actually think kind of bleeds over into your relationships, both as a father, mother, or husband and wife and daughter, son, whatever it may be. I think it does bleed over because you can't like bring happiness to other people unless you have it yourself. And so that was a really, really, really big aha moment for me that I knew whatever it was I was going to do, I had to love doing it. And then I think the other thing really kind of falls into you and I like quotes, right? And my dad had the best quote of all time, the best quote. He said, money doesn't buy happiness, but it puts a good down payment on it. And I think that what he was basically saying is like, you don't sacrifice it all for the dollar, but don't ever like forget that there is an importance to the dollar. And so like, I've used that like quite a bit of times. And since you and I've been together for 2.5 decades, you've heard it a few times. But yeah, I would say like, be happy at what you're doing and understand like we don't work for the dollar, but it's necessary in today's day and age and have some balance there.
Yeah. Just last thing on that one. You and your dad were pretty tight.
Very.
And one of the things that I just want you to comment on it. Just one of the things that I observed in our relationship early on is he was your best man.
He was my best man. He,
when you were, Mr. Popular? You were Mr. Popular.
I never actually won that title.
I thought you did.
Though I probably should have a couple of years.
You won that
I never won that title. But yeah, he was my best man. And he was great. Like my dad's entire speech, my dad was Czechoslovakian. He was a big guy. He was like 6'1", 280, but not 280 where you would think like he was like overweight. He was just this big, huge paw hands, Czechoslovakian, New York kind of blue collar guy. And he didn't really have much, but I think he wore every piece of jewelry at my wedding because when you don't have it, showing it kind of masks what you don't have, I guess. Like I've often analyzed that. And so he had his rings, pinky ring, whatever. He had some bracelets. He had his like chain and, whatever. And it came down to that time where you got to do the speech. And so my dad also enjoyed, for all of you, like this is, Matt was going to join me. I know he's a big fan, as I am, of Macallan. I thought I'd get some Macallan 18. He asked where the 25 was. I said, podcast number 100 will bring the 25. So cheers to our fathers.
Yes, thank you.
So my dad, it was time to do the best man speech, and his tie was long off. His tie was off after we said I do, and it was down to like right about here, and so you could see his change, which it was important to him. And he had his sleeves rolled up, so you could see his rings and you could see his bracelets, and he had the mic, and this was his entire best man speech. So my wife's name is Carla. He says to Bill and Darla. Someone yells, "It's Carla." He goes, "Carla, Bill and Carla, to wealth, to health, and to wealth, Nostrovia." Nostrovia being the best wishes and cheers in Czechoslovakia. And he did say wealth twice, right? Because he didn't have a lot of it. And that was it. He put the mic down, that was it. And everyone's like, holy shit, that was all right.
It.
Yeah.
Okay.
Man, a few words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. I wanted everybody to hear that one.
No,
that was a
that's
good one.
As it turns out, as you know, my youngest just got married,
Mm-hmm.
and my youngest had me as his best man, which was quite an honor.
Awesome.
And both of you guys got to share in that special day.
It was a great day.
It was just a short while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Big day.
Yeah. Big day.
Beautiful day.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, all of that being said, so many people. So many people in the real estate world, in the lending world, in the finance world. I want to know what excites you the most about diving into this podcast and getting to interview all of these guests.
Yeah. So they bring me involved with what we call our whale customers that actually have either a lot of units or volume connected to our space and that want to do business with us. And so most of those customers, the originator will bring me involved with. And I'll spend the first hour just trying to understand their business, understand their mindset, understand what keeps them up at night. And so I think, like for me, I can't remember the last time I've had one of those conversations where I've gone, like, holy shit, I never really thought about that. Or gone into a meeting believing I knew the answer to the questions only to come out, more well-informed. So why I'm excited about sharing is really that, like, if you think about it, if I'm doing this 38 years, tens of thousands of transactions, billions of dollars across my table, and I'm still learning, like, why shouldn't I share that with everyone? And like Matt will tell you, I always go into these things. This happens to be the podcast, but any venture. And if I can get one little nugget out of the talk, the podcast, the conference, the event, that can change the way that I do business, that was valuable. Not 8 pages of it, not emulate exactly what the person says, just one takeaway that makes a difference. I mean, I got 38 years of that, Gina. And so this gives me an opportunity to share a little bit of that in a way that I totally believe will make a difference in those who chime in and listen, because we wouldn't have them on our podcast if we didn't know that there was a value add. And there are some, like our first handful of guests have stories where you go, holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if they can do that, I can do anything I set my mind to.
100%.
Stuff that is way more grandiose than anything I've ever done. Like really killer stuff.
But it's not just rainbows and sunshine.
No.
There's setbacks, there's trenches, there's taking grenades. There's some tough moments that, only you can bring out.
Well, and Matt, thank you for saying that, because I think anybody that has a successful storefront has had some carnage behind the storefront and stuff that would kill most people's spirit in moving forward. And there is something special about the entrepreneur that keeps marching forward. There is. And I actually think all of those that have kind of gone through that have a fiduciary responsibility to share and allow others who want to pick apart those things that apply to them or that could apply to them or that resonates with them in a way, to do so and to better whatever their existence is in this space.
Yeah.
So I think, like, just looking at the slate of those that are coming on, my God, we have some really, really good guests.
Yeah.
Really good guests.
Like why they took the risk and what motivated them. What's their story? It's gonna be cool.
Well, and those are the
Crazy
stories that
Yeah, I imagine.
those are the stories that, unfortunately, with social media today, everything is all for the glory. Some people choose to only show the highlight reel. They only want to show, the good stuff. But how they got there is what I'm most excited for you to talk to these folks about, because those are the real moments in life when it gets hard and you have to roll up your sleeves and you have to pick yourself up off the ground. And I'm most excited for that.
Yeah, I call those the scars of success, right? Like,
Yeah.
open up the shirt, let me see the scars of success. I don't, there's very few people I've ever met in my life that sit on the top of a mountain or on the top of the ivory towers or a pedestal and don't have those scars. Like, in order for anyone to get there, unless it was literally just given to somebody, there was a backstory that if we could share, we all get to benefit from.
Yeah. Yeah, and speaking of those things, like you know me pretty well. Like, I like my questions. I have some questions that I throw out. You got to ask the questions to really get the answer that you're seeking, right? And it's kind of the unconventional type of question. So I got a couple questions
Matt,
for you.
just for the record, Matt is the question asker of all time. Like, it doesn't matter what situation we're in, who he's talking to, where the question is going or where it's coming from. Matt will ask any question to any person at any time. So
What's your favorite kind of candy?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
What was that?
What's your favorite kind of candy?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I just got to get people talking.
And Matt will say, like, I ask the questions that other people are thinking about.
Bingo. I was
If you
just
could have
going
lunch
to say it.
with anyone, living or dead, who would it be?
Yeah, that one really ended super bad. We're not going to get into that.
No, there's
One
a
of
couple
the-
good endings and bad endings for
They're
that
great
question.
questions.
They're great questions.
Yeah.
But everybody wants to know. I want to know.
Well, not everyone wants to know, but some people would
It's
like.
very interesting.
Yes, I agree.
All right,
agree.
I'm going to do a couple basic questions, right? Okay, here we go.
Do you know the answers to any of these questions, or are these? Are you? Will
so,
there be any
so we've
aha
known each other
moments
for
for
so
you?
long. The answer is yes. I know answers to
You're going to
most
throw a
of the
new one
questions.
at me because
I'm going to throw a new one at you.
You are okay.
I think so.
Okay, well, let's start easy.
Start easy.
Start easy.
What time do you wake up in the morning?
I wake up at 4:15 every morning. Have it on my phone, the little kind of buzz thing, just to make sure. Most of the time, I'm up in anticipation. It's a weird thing that I got going, but at 4:15 ish takes now that I'm a little bit older, it takes me 10 minutes of
Stretching or
well, it's just kind of
Snoozing.
I'm just talking myself into getting out of the comfortable bed and go do a workout. And that's, there's a internal battle. Now it's 10 minutes. So call it the 4:15. I'm out and about and dressed up by 4:30.
4:15 is early. I wake up at 5. That's early. So
We text a lot early in the morning.
yes. So yeah, I have a certain chime on my.
What's your chime?
For you when you text me?
What's my chime?
We can't cover that. Right now.
I've never. No, I don't. I actually don't know. What is my chime?
So when you call me, it's Thunderstruck by AC/DC fan.
It's my song.
So that's a good one.
Yeah.
The chime, I don't know if I can give a name to it, but it's a unique chime.
Oh no! What does that mean?
Well, it's a unique chime. It's not like everybody else. So when I get the chime, I go, oh, hear it from a distance, got to get up.
I have a chime for
Yeah.
you.
Oh. I don't know what that is.
It's a circus chime.
Oh, okay. I don't get the correlation, but
We'll
we're
talk
going to
about it
keep
later.
moving on.
Yes.
Okay, so you know my questions. So do you have a question for Bill?
I want to know what your fitness routine is. You said you wake up at 4:15 and you work out.
I do.
What do you do?
So you knew that I was a bodybuilder at one time, right?
I did.
And so that was a long time ago. And like it was, I think I finished in 90. So where are we? 24. What is that? 20, 35 years, 34 years? It's been a while. And so I did pick some bits and pieces off of that workout and routine and what I do today. But so here's what I do. I wake up in the morning. I go through a 30-minute stretch. When I ran track, I had a very detailed stretch. I do the same stretch workout I did in college. That's toes to nose. That takes me 30 minutes. I will ride the bike for 20 minutes. I do a Stairmaster for 15 minutes. And then I'll do 2 body parts, 2 exercises, 3 sets of 10 to 12. So I'll do chest and tris on a Monday. I'll do back and bis on a Tuesday. I'll do shoulders and forearms on a Wednesday. Thursday would be off. I don't do muscle legs because I stretch and I do the bike and I do the Stairmaster. My legs are plenty big. And then I do midsection every day. Could probably do a little bit more of that. And then I'll do the same routine after the 4th day off. I'll start again on Friday. It'll be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then take Monday off, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You know, the fact is that when you get older, you get things that compromise that, especially over the weekends. I'll mix in like golf or I bowl with my youngest on Monday night.
Bowling gets you.
Yeah, damn bowling ball.
Little races, little horses.
Bet a little horse racing. That's very stressful.
I love it. I love it.
I need to do more. I wake up early though, for sure. Get going early. Go to bed early.
Got it.
Yep.
All right. So we're going to start to wrap up on the questions, right?
Okay,
I'm going to
great.
give you a couple
Thank
more
you.
and we'll start wrapping.
Thank you, Maddie.
A lot of people love coffee, right? They're
Mhm.
coffee drinkers a couple times a day, multiple times a day, late coffees. Are you a coffee or like a whiskey guy? Or like what do you, is there a preference?
Oh, definitely a preference. It kind of feels like it'd be frowned upon if people came into the morning huddle and I was drinking Macallan.
Morning huddle at 8 o'clock?
Yeah, 8 o'clock in
Yeah.
the morning, and
Yeah.
I'm drinking Macallan. They're going like, "Holy shit, my future is with this guy."
Yeah.
So, like, I would say that they both have a place in my life. I like coffee early, so after my workout till about 10:30 or 11, and then I'm done with it. I won't drink after that, just more water. I haven't figured out a way to incorporate whiskey that early, but if I had my choice and it was like afternoon or night, I was gonna have one cocktail. I'm a whiskey guy.
Nice.
Neat, like you and I are drinking it.
I love it.
What about you, Matt? You coffee or whiskey?
Well, work day. I mean, I'm a coffee guy in the morning, but I can only have 1 or 2 cups. So I think I'm like naturally caffeinated.
Okay.
So
I
you know,
agree
1 or
with
2
that, by
cups.
the way.
You know, 1 or 2 cups.
Yep.
If I have 3 cups, there's
Got
some
some
stuff
problems?
going on. Yeah.
Some problems in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
plumbing or
yeah.
problems with the
Oh, there's a
mental?
plumbing problem. There's I can't fall asleep. I wake up in the morning. I can't fall asleep. I
So
talk.
if there's a plumbing problem in your work, do you take care of the plumbing? Or
Oh
like-
yeah.
You
Well,
will.
Yeah. I find an.
Do you go downstairs to the
I'll
first
go
floor?
upstairs.
How do you get upstairs? Don't
navigate.
you have to have like a little card or?
Well, I meet people. I talk to people.
You meet people and you say, "Hey, I have a plumbing problem.
No,
Can you
I
let
just
me in on
no,
floor
I don't
4?
say that. No, I don't say that. I say.
What would you say exactly?
Well, I lead in. I go, hey,
Like, would you say, "Hey, I had
I'm
3
from the
cups of
second
coffee.
floor.
Could
I'd
you
like to
imagine how I
visit."
feel?"
Okay, I'm from the 2nd floor. I'd like to go to the 4th floor.
And they go, "Why would you like to go?
Well, I've never seen the 4th floor. I've always been here. I've been working.
Would you like
here
to start at the bathroom?"
Yeah.
Just
No, I get
give
to
me
the
a few
4th floor.
moments.
Hey, oh my God, I got to use the restroom, and then I go take care of stuff.
Oh gosh.
I don't know where we were going with
I
that.
just
but,
to me it
Interesting
feels
turn.
like
yeah, that was a
we
turn.
were talking
Yeah.
about your plumbing problem. Oh, here on Unconventional,
Well,
Matt Flores discusses exactly how he fixes his plumbing problem by having 3 coffees.
I'm glad we're going into that. You know everything? You
I lost my train of thought.
okay? So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go one more.
Yeah.
Okay, so everybody knows that your career, your path, and I love it. And you know this question. I know this question I'm going to ask you, and you know this question.
Okay.
So if you didn't go into mortgage lending finance
Yeah.
and you chose another career,
Mm-hmm.
spoiler alert, I know your answer.
Yeah.
I'm going
I
to let
don't.
you tell the
You don't?
answer.
I don't.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you tell the answer, but I'm
Yeah.
going to challenge you to give me what other career you would have chosen.
Okay. So, you know the answer.
Tell
But
everybody.
this is for
'cause-
Gina and everyone else. I coached both my boys in baseball and football for 14 years
Mm.
and fell in love with teaching young athletes different ways to competitively win whatever it was that we were competing in. So I would tell you, Matt, that if I was not in my space and I could be a college football coach, that would, and college over pros, right? Because, well, now with NIL, it might be a little different, but I would say be a coach for sure. That would be without a doubt what I would like to do.
I
Just
could so picture
changing.
For sure.
that all day long.
Yeah. And like my wife would,
You don't
Yelling,
even have to change.
Yelling,
I don't know
raising
what that
his
means.
voice. Yeah,
Gina, can I
yelling.
ask you something? How long have you and I worked together?
7 years.
Have I ever yelled like, Gina, Gina? Have I ever yelled?
You don't have
No.
to. Oh God.
Matt.
Not like that.
No. Matt,
He gave a very specific example.
yes, but Matt always
You've-
says, like,
you've
if I'm upset,
yelled
I always
with
start with
passion.
saying his name. Matt, why are we, blah, 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 blah. I don't
Hate it.
like the idea of
Hate it.
yelling, but when you're in football and you got a helmet on, you are yelling.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Matt, pick up the blindside block.
Yeah.
Matt, run the route you're instructed to run.
And then you emphasize it. You say it, you pause, and then you lay in again the same message.
Because I don't think you're hearing
get it, I
correctly.
get
So
it.
sometimes they'll be like, Matt, that's not
You
what
didn't
we
coach me in
discussed in
football,
our
so
huddle.
just so
Is
everybody's
this a
clear.
strategy you use
Oh
today?
no, he'll double up. He'll say it, pause, emphasize, lay in again. So
But Matt told me something that I was unaware of. But he says when I'm really not happy with him, I will lead with his name, Matt. I didn't
or
recognize
anyone,
that.
not
Gina,
just yeah,
Gina.
yes.
I don't think we talked about that today, but yelling is. I don't really.
Okay,
think,
maybe not
I
yelling,
like
but
the planning, the team camaraderie,
Yeah.
the strategizing, the overcoming adversity when it's not working. It's really everything we do today. Everything.
but it's also
Love it.
changing people's lives, and I think that's what your superpower is, greater than anybody I've ever met on the entire planet.
That's
is
a very
can
nice compliment, Matt.
change somebody's life, everybody's life, and I probably have 18 people in my head right now that I could tell stories about, which we don't have enough time, but another time we'll go through that.
Thank you, Matt.
But what if you weren't a college football coach or a college coach, baseball, football, what would it be? Is there something?
There is,
Enlighten me.
but a very good one, not just a one, a very, very good one, like the best in the world. I'd like to be a comic.
Really?
I'd like to stand
Oh
on stage
my-
and make people laugh. I mean,
That would-
is there, Matt, is there a better? Is it, look at Gina. Gina's like, are you kidding me? No, but could you imagine being
Wait,
on
for
stage in
real?
front of 20,000 people and saying funny
Oh,
things
I
and
would
making
love
people
it.
feel great?
Oh, I think you could do it.
Gina's laughing so hard right now. I'm really, Gina,
Yeah.
Gina,
Yeah.
stop
yelling.
laughing. Yes.
Stop yelling.
But
That's
it's
me
good.
laughing.
But it's good. That is really good. I'm gonna think about that one and play off
But
that a
that's
little
pretty
bit.
good though.
That's
if you think
really
about it, like,
good.
is there anything better than making people laugh?
Oh no, there's nothing better.
Like if you can't change somebody's life economically, but you could bring humor or a smile to their face. I mean, isn't it one of our core values? Create
yeah.
smiles.
Yeah.
That didn't come out of thin air.
No.
Like if you created smiles every day, made somebody smile for some reason, that's a pretty darn good day.
I would love to be in the front. I think you would do it pretty well. Actually, if you got on stage right now, I think you'd do well.
I think if I got on stage right now, I would be in big trouble.
I think
I
you
think
would
that
need
you hear
somebody.
crickets.
If Matt's in the front row, you would win
Yes,
all day
for
long
sure.
because you would
'Cause
just pick on him.
Exactly. You would
I'm
need
You would need to
better
roast
at
him.
observing.
Well,
things
super
about-
witty.
I'm
You no
witty.
matter what time of the day, you're gonna get it. And if you want me to be that first guy, just let me know. I'm in.
We could do 1, 2.
Oh, 1, 2.
I would do that.
What? Not the roasting thing, like
We
the.
actually kind of do when we're around.
Yeah, and I
our
know,
friends,
but
like-
but I don't. let's not go on the roasting. All right, so we'll start to wrap up.
Okay.
So, is there anything else? Do we have anything else to wrap?
No, those questions
Pretty good?
are the icing on the cake.
Okay, good.
Well, I appreciate both of you guys.
Yeah, appreciate the stories. I
This
can
is
keep going.
Podcast 1.
Yeah, this
Matt,
is great.
You were part of the first of something. That's kind of cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
And,
First of something?
Gina will tell you, when we talked about this, you know who I suggested we have here?
Not me.
Jack, but he couldn't make it. And then I said, what about Ben? Ben was busy. So I said, Kevin, no.
It's
How
fourth
about
string.
Liz? No, Liz had something
Fifth
going on.
string.
Cam? Is Cam available? No. Okay, hold on. Let me think about it.
Okay,
All right.
just
How about
easing
PJ?
the tension.
Is PJ around? No.
He's
Joe?
around.
Mm-mm.
They're all around.
Can Matt make it? Matt can make it. Appreciate you, buddy.
Hey, cheers. Good stuff.
You're my pal.
All right, love you.
Love you too. Go be unconventional.